Hey y'all, hey, it's me, Auntie Buffie. I have been on a social media hiatus. I've only really been like just reposting things that I like, y'all stories and what you guys are posting and stuff that's going on in the economy and in this country of ours. And I'd been really open and honest about the fact that I've been suffering from TRD, which is treatment resistant depression. And so I took a little break. Some stuff's been going on for the past 18 months. It's just been annoying to say the least, but I am doing the work and I'm getting a lot better. And my therapist was like, "Why are you not allowing yourself to interact with your nieces and nephews that you love on social media?" And so I think, I think in part I felt like, well, I'm a hot mess right now. So how am I going to give y'all guidance when my life right now is like just chaotic and I'm sad and in the bed most days? And she was like, "Girl, that's normal. A lot of people have that going on." And I, have always, bye, Louie, bye. I guess he's done with my sadness story. He was like, "Get over it, get up, mama." He's tired of being an emotional support dog. Anyway, y'all know if y'all hear the snorts or the reverse sneeze and all that, that is your furfew Louis Charles Purcell. Anyway, so I'm as part of my recovery, I'm getting back to doing the things that I love and making sure that I'm busy doing things that I want to do. So I, Auntie stay, I like threads a lot. And so I stay on the threads. So I recently came across a thread where Tabitha Brown, who I'm very fond of, I've met one time. We are social media friends. I met her when I was in Hawaii 2.5 years ago, I believe. We were on vacation in the same resort. Lovely person, husband, lovely children, everybody wonderful. And I saw that Tab is in a little hot water, which I don't understand the hot water. And since I am just now coming back to the social media and the YouTube streets, I see ain't got the video ready and ain't put it up. So y'all know how to go look. Go look up the video where Auntie told y'all to go get a job. Why are children mad? Like, I think it was sound business guidance and advice. And she had just left Atlanta because she was here for Invest Fest. And then I also saw on her social media she was house hunting. So that's really exciting. It'd be great if she moved to Atlanta. Bless you, Louie. Um, Bless you again, Louie. He just wants to be heard. But basically she was saying Tabitha service announcement. She was doing her TSA, which I think is adorable, where she was like, "It might be time for you to get a job." And basically, and I'm paraphrasing, I what I feel she was trying to impart to entrepreneurs is, look, if the business ain't businessing, if it's not currently paying the bills. And look, a lot of small business owners are in that predicament right now. Louis, baby, you're gonna be upstairs. You keep cutting up. A lot of small business owners are in that predicament right now. For one, let me tell y'all why. The economy is a hot mess, right? We know who is in office and what this administration is doing and how they're cutting everything left and right. 300,000 Black women are out of work right now. And folks ain't spending because they ain't got it to spend, right? The scammer's still spending, but the folk that ain't scamming ain't spending. They're saving their money. They are cutting back because everything is just really uncertain right now, and so they're being smart. Look, my businesses have been affected by this economy as well. So, I totally understand her sentiment. And again, I'm saying she was just here in Atlanta for Invest Fest and then posted this. Atlanta, I love you, but you know damn well Atlanta's the home of the scammer. Y'all know Atlanta the home of the scammers. And so I can only imagine, and I'm not saying that people that invest fast or scammers stop because y'all know you're little put stuff on Auntie mouth. What I'm saying is there are some people who are entrepreneurs who have a dream and you've been at it for a long time and you still in the red. And in terms of the Internal Revenue Service, they would call that a hobby, not a business. And that's from my background as a tax practitioner, I can tell you. If you keep writing off all these losses on your tax return for more than 3, 4, 5 years, at some point the IRS is going to audit you and say, baby, this is not a business. This is a hobby. This is something that you want to do, but the math ain't mathing. Businesses have to have profit. And yes, you've got to have time to get there. But if you don't have the financial resources before you take the leap to become a small business owner, you may have to get you a job. And I think a lot of people took issue with it because they're like, oh, she's a multimillionaire. How dare she? She wasn't always no damn multimillionaire. Y'all act like when people hit it that they forget how regular life is. Or you think when somebody is a multimillionaire that they don't also have financial issues. Let's not, child, the people understand. We know. I mean, I ain't in her tax bracket, but what I'm saying is it doesn't matter. People understand finances and they understand business. And what she was doing was, in my humble, not so humble opinion, is trying to just give some sound advice in that if the business ain't businessing right now, you might need to go pick you up a job. Now, people have very valid points out there, like I said before, where 300,000 Black women are out of jobs because this administration is purposely getting rid of Black women in the workplace. But there are jobs available. And it may not be the job you want to take, but there are jobs available. And so Auntie's going to share a story with y'all for y'all come after me for saying the same thing Tabitha said. And this ain't no just Tabitha defense thing. It's because I really believe what she said was sound advice and it came from a good place. So when I first started my tax practice, child, in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000, I had been living with a family member and working in his tax practice whilst I was in college. Well, I ain't like the way he was running his business. I wanted to do things my way. I wanted my, Capricorn, whatever. So I left the family business and started my own tax practice in Noonan, Georgia. And if y'all from Georgia, y'all know I was in the country. Noonan, Georgia. At the time, I lived in Riverdale off Highway 85. I bought my first house. It was only $70,000. But for me, that was a lot of money because I was 19, 20 years old. And I had an office in Noonan, Georgia because the rents were cheap down there. And so I found me a little hole-in-the-wall office off Bullsboro Drive. I think it was 41 Farmer Street. And my rent was, I think, $900 a month. Now, again, this was late 90s, early 2000s. Plus, I had a mortgage. My house mortgage was like $600 a month with taxes and insurance. That was manageable. But I had a dream. I wanted my own tax practice. I was spoiled, little whatever, learned everything I thought I was going to learn from my family and wanted to start my own thing. So I did. And it was a hole in the wall. I think I had one window. And I was very proud because it was my own thing. Now, even though I was spoiled and left, my uncle still let me have all the computers. That it was actually, he had a location there. And he had a lady that worked with him who stole his client list and started a home down the street from where I was. And so he was going to close the office. And I was like, well, let me add the computers and I'll assume that lease. And so that's what I did. So I'm going to give him credit for that. And he didn't charge me any money or nothing. Family, lovely. So anyway, I went down there, painted, decorated it, made it the way I wanted to be. And started advertising the old school way, with flyers and stuff. This was before social media and all the stuff. I don't know why my voice cracking. And let me hide this because I ain't giving nobody no ads unless they you's gonna pay. Because that's a job for Auntie. Anyway, to make a long story short, I started this office. I was able to maintain a few of my uncles, maybe 100 or so of my uncle's old clients. But the lady, she took the vast majority of his clients. I think he had maybe 1,000 clients. She took like 900 clients. So then I had to build on that, which was fine. I was up to the challenge. I was still in college. Noonan is about 30 minutes away from Riverdale. And so it was a bit of a drive. That's with no traffic every day for me to go down there. And I didn't have a receptionist. I didn't have another tax preparer. It was just me. And I was there from 9 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock at night. grinding it out, trying to do this business. I tried to learn Spanish because I had discovered there was a large Hispanic population near my office location in need of tax services. I then learned how to become an IRS acceptance agent, which meant I was issuing tax ID numbers so that people who were here without documentation, for lack of a better turn of phrase, could file their taxes, pay their tax debt in hopes of one day um, gaining citizenship here. So anyway, I was doing all the stuff, like finding my niche, doing all the stuff, and I was growing the business. Well, it was a seasonal business for me. So I was only open January until April 15th, Louis. And then I would close. But I still had rent to pay the rest of the year. So I did okay the first tax season, and I didn't go to the office like after tax season because like I wasn't hip on I'm gonna do bookkeeping and do all this maintenance for the people who don't file during the tax season and all the things you're supposed to do when you have a real accounting firm. I was just like, I'm gonna have me a little tax practice and make me a couple of $100,000 while I'm in college and keep it popping, right? Well, that didn't happen first year. That didn't happen the second year. I was still in college. Hey, Bubby, you want to say hi before you lie down? Say hi to your furfew Louie. So yeah, didn't go to the office, and so I didn't really make that much money that first tax season, and I paid my rent every month, and then come around July, August, I just stopped paying rent because I ain't have it, right? Because I ain't had no job. I was in college. I ain't had no all that student loan extra. I didn't do the student loan scams and get the money and all that stuff. I didn't do all that stuff. In hindsight, I probably should have, but I didn't. Parents took care of college, so it was I wasn't doing all that. So anyway, I didn't pay the rent because I was gonna pay my mortgage based on the money that I made during the tax season. And I didn't have a car payment because my parents always gave me a car and paid my insurance, whatever. And I just didn't pay my rent. And then I just forgot about it and didn't pay for several months. And took my behind down because I had somebody call me and say they had like multi-year taxes they want to do. And my dumb behind, baby, that's an eviction notice on the door. It was an eviction notice on the door of my office. So then I had to work out a plan with my landlord to get caught up, and I did. And I was proud because I did not call my parents and ask them for help. I figured it out on my own. But the point I'm saying in all this is if the business ain't businessing, then you have to do what you have to do. So what I did was I took a job. I took a class to learn how to be a loan officer. And I took a job with this company, Southeast Mortgage Company. And I had to drive to Lawrenceville, which is like an hour north of Riverdale, every day when I wasn't in class to go to work. This was not back when folk let you do remote work and work from the house. There was none of no remote work being a loan officer back then. You had to go to the office and work. And they would give you leads and you would call the people and you would work the leads and work with your underwriters and do the stuff. So I had to go get me a little job and I started making really good money as a loan officer. And then I could pay the rent at the office until the tax season came back around. And then it dawned on me and I was like, obviously I'm gonna get a job in the financial services industry because that ties well with me wanting to have a tax practice like everybody else in my family. And so, the point is I had to go get me a little job. And then what happened was I became really good at that little job. And then I decided I was going to become a mortgage broker. And I took the necessary testing and classes and got my license and became a mortgage broker. And then I incorporated that in my business location. And then I was open year round. So I wasn't just doing taxes during tax season. I was doing originating mortgage loans for people year round. I later then became an insurance agent as well. And so, I want y'all to not look at what she said like she was putting people down. And like the other thing is, I don't like this notion that people think that a 9 to 5 is something negative. It's not. It's like our parents all had 9 to 5s. Bye, Louie. Like, what's wrong with working in a cubicle and having a 9 to 5? Like, we need to get out of this Atlanta mess and not just Atlanta, whatever this social media bull crap is, where people think being an entrepreneur is just so glamorous and wonderful. It is the hardest job in the world, y'all. You know, people are like, oh, you can set your own schedule. No, the hell you can't. You don't have a boss. Yes, you do. Your boss are your clients. Your boss are your employees that you got to meet payroll for every 2 weeks and pay payroll taxes to the government and pay health insurance for them and all the things. And I'm not discouraging anyone. It's been the greatest joy of me and my husband's life to be job creators and to create a happy space and healthy space for people to work. But it is a thankless, hard job to be an entrepreneur. And when the economy is down and the business ain't businessing, it's all on you to figure out how to take care of things. And so when Tabitha was like, it might be time for you to go get a little job, that's all she meant by that. And a little job, again, quit looking at a 9 to 5 like that's a negative or a put down. It's not. There's honor in having a career and having a job. And then additionally, a job could be you go do some meet and greets or talk or something that you wouldn't normally do because your business was doing like a job doesn't mean just that. It could mean many things. If you are a social media influencer or a content creator, it could mean many things. You may need to pick up something you wouldn't normally do so that you can make ends meet, is what I took from what she was saying. That's it. And honestly, some of the smartest entrepreneurs, in my humble opinion, are the ones who do have a job, because that job is paying health insurance and let them people stress and do all that stuff while you pursue your goal until you get to the point where you no longer need that and then you can afford to do all that stuff. I think we have to reframe how we look at stuff. We need to quit glamorizing this multimillionaire unattainable life that is dictated by some social media influencers and depicted and curated like a museum of art on their social media pages, where they're always being flown out. They're always in first class. Girl, that is not the reality for everybody. It's not. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, we have to crawl before we ball, pun intended. And sometimes when we balling, we have to check ourselves and go back and crawl a little bit. I talk about that a lot in my book, Crawl Before You Ball. So on Amazon, see, that's Auntie job. MRSMD, weight loss, wellness, mental health, NAD plus, so you can look youthful. And now we're doing aesthetics. Always be selling. That's all I think Tab meant. And I think we need to like chill out a little bit. She fine. She's sleeping lovely at night on silk pillowcases. I'm very sure of that. But just this whole notion that it's a negative for someone to say, maybe you should pick up a little job, is insane to me. I think it's sound business advice. It's sound advice from somebody who is in the auntie sphere. Who, you know, if you were at the cookout and you would talk to your auntie about what a business, your successful auntie and the business, my business, I keep trying and it's just not doing well right now. And then we all know these different variables that are going on with tariffs, and it's different. Like if it's a product business and you're having trouble with all, we know what's going on, and people just aren't buying like that right now. Your auntie would say, well, baby, maybe you need to go pick up a little job until things pick up. That's it. There's no harm in that. None at all. There really isn't. There was something else I wanted to say to y'all in this vein of the over glamorization of being an entrepreneur, and thinking that just because you're going to be an entrepreneur overnight, you're going to be a child. I've now been in business over 25 years, and there are still ups and downs and peaks and valleys. And I will tell you this, the go get a job It's smart because banks, traditional banks, don't lend to people when they don't need money. I'm gonna say that one more again. If you go to a bank when your receivables are low, when the math ain't math and the folk ain't coming in through the door, and you trying to get a little working capital to keep your business afloat until the slow season ends, they're not gonna give you no money. I don't care if you got 850 credit score, brokerage account, but they ain't give you no money. Because traditional banks ain't lending when you need it. So Auntie's advice is when the business is popping off and receivables are high and everything is great, that's when you go get you a business line of credit. Because they'll give you money when you don't need none. And what you need to do is just, even if you don't need the money, just use a little bit of it and keep it open because they'll close it too if you ain't using it. They just don't. And that's why these companies like On Deck and to be fair, I used to originate loans for On Deck too back in the day. I picked me up a little job doing that when I needed to. And though they do SBA backed products and not, I'm not just picking on Deck, but those type of second and third tier companies that loan money quickly to small business owners, it can be very difficult for you to maintain that because they want weekly payments. The interest rates are astronomical and usurious, but people get stuck in having to use those as resources. And so the advice of picking up a little job is better than getting caught in that kind of cycle of debt and stress. And for small business owners that have done that, no shade. Like I just told you, I used to originate loans from. I understand business. I have been there. I know what it's like because the minute you can't meet the business expenses, the business closes. And so I understand. And picking up a little job should be the least of your worries and least of your angst in your journey of pursuing your goal of being an entrepreneur. That's all Auntie's going to say about that. And y'all fall back. Y'all see everybody, and listen, I'm the most sensitive person in the world. Y'all done see me hysterically cry on TV, in places. And that's fine. Be human and all that. But sometimes I think we need to like put our biases aside and like try to think of where that person's coming from in what they're saying to you. And sometimes people being messy. She wasn't being messy. That's not her spirit. It's just not. All right. I'm gonna keep this up if I find stuff that I'm intrigued by and I wanna just give y'all a little auntie's opinion on that. I will come and do so on the YouTube and share snippets on my other social media platforms. And if there are things you want me to discuss, let me know. I really am all talked out about like I'm not interested in, oh, this is the bank you should use and these are the cut this and do all that because quite honestly, in this economy, I would be a hypocrite to fuss at somebody about their finances when I know what's going on. The math ain't math, and nobody is balling right now except these oligarchs and billionaires. Everybody is dealing with financial stress and strain, and I empathize with you. I can relate. I get it. And I'm coming with a spirit of empathy and just saying, better hug a tree, better plant your feet in the soil. You better pray. You better do whatever it is you can to get up every day, hit the ground running, get you a little job if you need one or two. Take some brand deals that you wouldn't normally do because you got to pay the bills and keep it popping. All right. I love y'all. Thanks so much. And smoochies. Okay, I'm done. Louise, ready for me to be off of here. Can I hit end recording? And bye. Darling.